Olé, welcome. My name is Daphne, and I'll be your guide today as you enjoy listening to the exciting ways that music can tell stories. I'm here with the Mansfield Symphony and Catherine Kilburn, who will conduct or lead the orchestra. When we set music to a story, it gives us clues about the place where the story occurs, called the setting of the story. As you'll soon hear, music can take us to far-off places, and we want to bring all of you with us on a musical journey to Spain. Spain is a country in the south of Europe with a very old history. In Spain, you can find big, very old castles and churches, Roman waterways and outdoor theaters, Muslim castles, and even Scottish ruins. And Spain is famous for its festivals, its music, and its dances. We all know what it's like to tell or to listen to a really good story. Today, we are going to tell you a story with music, a story all about a Spanish festival. In the village, everyone is full of excitement. The day of the festival has come. It is morning, and everyone is so thrilled. The whole town comes to the streets with an outburst of energy. A festival morning starts with a big parade with people of all ages dancing, singing, laughing, and getting ready for a full day of festivities. In the orchestra, we will hear a big splash of sound and thrilling rhythms, with everyone playing instruments, moving fast and moving forward. But if you listen very closely, under all the noise of the crowd, at one point, you'll hear two teenagers talking delightfully about the excitement of the day. Our teenagers are played by our friends, the violin and the clarinet. But let's all go to the fiesta. Let the festival commence. As the parade passes through the village with all of the loud and excited young people dancing and singing, behind them come the wise and serious grandparents. "Oh, those kids, look at them," they say, shaking their heads. Then they start to remember the old days when they themselves were young. They say things like, "Remember that year? Oh yes, and that year. What year was that? And just like folk tales are passed on by grandparents and parents by word of mouth over the years, so are the traditions of the festival. Let's listen to what the horns say with their gloomy tune. And the strings add, "Oh yes, those were the days. We knew how to have fun and how to dance, not like these young people with their silly dances. Yes, we danced the Spanish fandango and flamenco," they say, remembering. Ms. English Horn seems to be lost in memories as she almost seems to shed a tear while singing a beautiful melody. But Mr. Horn, who is stubborn and always complains, keeps interrupting her. These kids today don't have any respect, always loud and playing with those phones of theirs all day. And so on they go, Ms. English Horn singing and daydreaming, and Mr. Horn complaining about the youngsters. In the end, while they continue their slow walk behind the parade, all the grandparents in a big chorus start to sing a beautiful and serious melody, a longing tune that brings them back to their youthful years. As the grandparents end their beautiful song, a young and playful little girl, the flute, comes along and joins them, gracefully dancing around them in circles. And as they follow the little girl in a final circle, she quickly spins around and joins the parade. And there again is the parade, with everyone noisily dancing and singing and having fun. The parade has come to a halt. All of the excitement and noise is interrupted, as you heard, by the sound of the drums. You can still hear them. The parade has arrived at its ending place. But what is this? Ah, the Spanish gypsies are in town, and they will perform their famous Spanish dances. The gypsies come to a stage with a big, loud, and passionate brass fanfare. And if you listen closely, you'll hear all of them. The trumpets, trombones, horns, all of them are now on stage. Now here is one of the most famous dancers, one that performs solos all over the world, the famous violin. Everyone is silent now and listens as the violin makes his triumphal entrance. After his entrance, the violin introduces the rest of the Spanish gypsy dancers as they all begin a slow dance. Flute, clarinet, oboe, and harp show off with their own solos, singing full and beautiful melodies while the gypsies keep dancing. Suddenly, the trombones and the strings come in with a very energetic zapateado, a kind of Spanish tap dance, and the gypsies become more and more excited. They dance, and little by little, more of them come onto the stage as the dance continues on, more and more energetically. Their dance becomes exciting and quick. Look, now the gypsy dancers are dancing their flamenco dance around the audience, exciting them until little by little, everyone in the audience starts to dance with the gypsies, the same energetic dance. The excitement builds until everyone is dancing flamenco, old and young. Everyone dances wildly, full of excitement, till the end of the night. Look, they're not dancing flamenco anymore. Now they're dancing a fandango from the north of Spain. How happy everyone is now. What beautiful melodies. If you listen carefully, you'll also hear the castanets. Something tells me the flamenco is coming back. Everyone is having a great time, but be ready for the final hooray! The gypsies, the audience, everyone is gearing up for a wild ending. Soon, things are going to get fast and loud. And now everyone, like an entire orchestra, is dancing and singing and having fun. Let's see how it all ends. Wow, what a festival that was. And we were able to tell you that great story with music. The music is called Capriccio Espagnol, and it was composed or written by Nikolai Rimsky-Korsakov. Capriccio Espagnol means Spanish character. And this music sounds so Spanish that when you hear it, you almost feel that you're in Spain in the middle of a festival. But how can we feel as though we're in a different country or in another state just by listening to music? We can hear banjos and mandolins, some country music, and we might think that we're in a barn in Tennessee. Or we can hear a loud brass street band, and our minds quickly travel to Mardi Gras, a Mardi Gras parade, in the streets of New Orleans. What gives music its identity, its setting, is the rhythms, melodies, and harmonies they use. Those based on the songs that were taught from one generation to another, popular and folk songs that belong to each region. When music uses those songs, the music is recognizable. The music you just heard sounds Spanish because it uses Spanish music. Now, during the story, you met some of our friends, the instruments of the orchestra. Now, let's see if you remember some of them. At the beginning of the piece, during the big parade, two friends were talking to each other. One of those friends was the clarinet. Here is how the clarinet sounds. And do you remember the playful little girl dancing around the grandpas? Yes, that was the flute. Here it is. The clarinet and the flute are part of a family of instruments called the woodwinds. They're called woodwinds because at one point they were all made with wood or hollow reeds. In the woodwind family, we also have the oboes, and the bassoons, and now the full woodwind section sounds like this. Next, we have the brass section. As given away by the name, the brass section is called that because its instruments are made of brass. Remember in the story when the Spanish gypsies came in with a big fanfare? Well, that was the brass section playing. In the brass section, we have horns, trumpets, trombones, and the big guy, the tuba. And all together, they sound like this. At one very exciting point in our story, you heard the parade get interrupted by the big sound of the drum. Drums are part of the percussion section, and they're called percussion instruments because they need to percuss, which means that someone needs to tap or hit those instruments to make a sound. In the percussion section, we have drums, timpani, the triangle, cymbals, the bass drum, and many, many more instruments. Here is how they sound. And finally, we have all of these musicians, the string section of the orchestra. The string section is the largest. It's the section that plays the most music within the orchestra. Each instrument in this section has 4 strings, which are rubbed with a bow so the strings vibrate and make sound. The stringed instruments come in different sizes, and the larger the size of the instrument, the lower they sound. The smallest and highest of all is the violin, then comes the viola, the cello, and the largest and lowest of all is the bass. And here is how the strings sound. Now, you know the woodwind section, the brass section, the percussion section, and the string section. And when we put all of those sections together, we have an orchestra. The entire orchestra sounds like this. And now, we have one more piece of music for you. During our story, the Spanish gypsies were dancing famous dances from Spain. They danced flamenco, fandango, zapateados. We want to leave you with another Spanish dance, and this one is called the jota. The jota is danced all over Spain, but it comes mostly from northeastern Spain. The jota is a vivid dance in which dancers move in circles, and at one point, singers stand in the middle of the circle and perform solos. After those solos are performed, the bright encircling dance starts again. Listen very carefully to see if you can hear when this happens. And now that you know the families of the orchestra, pay attention to see if you can hear the different instruments. Here is España by Emmanuel Chabrier, performed by the Mansfield Symphony, conducted by Catherine Kilburn. Wow, that was so exciting. Could you hear the strings, woodwind, brass, and percussion instruments? Thank you so much to the Mansfield Symphony, conducted by Catherine Kilburn. It was fantastic, wasn't it? Now, it's time for the final section of our program, where we answer questions submitted from students like you. So, our first question comes from Claymont third grade student Aiden. How long does it take to set up the stage and get everything ready for a performance like this? Well, we asked Maddie Penwell. She's our symphony operations manager, and this is what she had to say. It takes a couple of hours to set up the chairs, instruments, music stands, and everything that you see on stage today. But behind the scenes, our team spends many weeks preparing the materials, deciding on the songs, setting up the stage lights and sound equipment, rehearsing the music, and making sure everything runs smoothly. That was a good question. We have another great question from a Claymont third grader named Jackson. What does it feel like to play live? Do you still get nervous? Jane Price, who plays the bassoon, says, playing live is like the cherry on top of a sundae you just made. We practice the making of music, and our cherry on top is sharing music with others. Do I get nervous? Yes, I do get nervous. There's that note that has to be played super soft. That makes me nervous. There's that fast spot that I practiced, and I hope it comes out okay. Yes, I still get nervous. Thanks, Jane, for answering that question. This is another good one. What do you miss about live performances? Well, Sharon Blades plays the viola, and she says, what I miss about live performances is being in the middle of gorgeous sound and listening to the sound of my own instrument joining in the music. This question comes from Eleanor, who is in 3rd grade and is also from Claymont. What is your favorite part about being a conductor? Catherine Kilburn, who's our guest conductor today, says, what I love most about conducting is the collective energy that exists in the moment when we all make music together. An orchestra is a place where each musician's individual contribution and the cumulative efforts of the whole orchestra create something magical. We bring the music on the page to life. We realize the inspiration and the ingenuity of the composer. And we come together from all of our diverse lives with a common purpose to share music with our audiences and with each other. I think that's pretty awesome. And then our last question today is there a good book to read with this concert or even after the concert? A great book to read about the orchestra is The Story of the Orchestra. Listen while you learn about the instruments, the music, and the composers who wrote the music. There's also a list of great additional resources in our teacher guide. And this brings us to the end of our program today. We hope you enjoyed our concert, and we really hope that you enjoyed it so much that you are glad that you visited us today. Thank you to the Mansfield Symphony, Catherine Kilburn, the Renaissance team, and all of our generous sponsors. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll see you next year.